All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Ascendance of a Bookworm, Season 2, Episode 6. Mine has been doing great, but then there was a complication. She got put in a room, and she don't do too well in those by herself.
Yeah, Mr. Head Priest, you got to be thinking about the fact that she's a really big asset for the church. So
and
if you're
she's got a condition.
Yeah, if you're gonna be, using her in that way for not just her potential money and magic and all that, but just everything else that could come with that, like, come on, dude, like, you gotta think a little bit ahead here.
Exactly, and maybe, maybe make it a bit easier for retainers to bring things up and be listened to when they do, because there's that whole position and station thing, so they can't be, like, super assertive about it, but they might have something very important to say.
That's true.
Yeah.
But, we had the whole Tromba situation, and it went well, despite the ways in which it could have been a disaster. A town, citywide disaster.
And theoretically be something where the information about that and exactly what happened could seriously upend some things in this world, depending on how that information is used.
Right.
Yeah.
So, economics and orphans and church and magic and all that stuff.
That's right.
Let's get right back into it. Oh, crap.
Okay.
Okay. So here's going to be the Lutz drama.
Yeah.
Thought it was going to come in the OVA, but no, it's with this.
Okay.
The path ahead.
Okay.
Hey, yeah. Oh.
Nope. Gotta stay in bed.
昨日ルッツが親父と喧嘩になってさ
What was it about?
ルッツのやつもう出てってやるって
Probably about the job, but like...
探したんだけど見つからねえ前ルッツの居場所わからないか
He's probably just fine.
ギルベルタ商会ってどこにあ
Wow.
Yeah.
ラルフ、弟の勤め先も知らないの？信じられない。
That's merchant stuff. He's not allowed to talk about that at home, probably.
ルッツお前何やってんだ
Oh no, this is terrible.
仕事中に邪魔するなお前勝手なことばっかしやがってとっとと帰るぞ
Kick Ralph out.
いい加減にしろ勝手なことばっかしやがってお前のわがままでみんな迷惑してんだ
ラルフ、帰ろう。ルッツが無事だって分かったんだ。
Yep. We achieved our objective.
お店にいたんだ。ちゃんと仕事してたよ。ラルフとは喧嘩になって。
Yeah.
心配なのはわかるけど、まずは元気にならなくちゃ。
Yeah.
私の熱はなかなか下がらなくて。
ルッツを返せルッツあんたたちルッツをどうしようって
Whoa.
Damn.
ルッツ出ておいで
ルッツに会えないまま数日が過ぎた。
おはようございます、マイン。
Yep,
They've
they're
now
all...
got people posted out front.
やっと熱が下がりました。ルッツは？
その話は奥でお願いしますね。
Yeah.
ここ数日、店のものも
Understandably so.
ルッツを連れてよその町へ行く予定だったんだが、
Probably a good
親の許可
idea.
が取れなくてな。
それってルッツがずっと望んでたし。
Right. So then he asked for permission and they got into a fight. Yeah.
それって家族とうまくいってなかったから。
Right.
Well, financially, he'll be able to take care of himself just fine.
Well, right, but because they think that a merchant in that regard is someone that won't have stability. They'll be,
それじゃ住み込み見習いと同じじゃない。ベンノさん、なんとかならないんですか？
俺としては、ルッツとの様子
Oh.
Whoa.
兄ちゃんたちもみんなルッツを心配して。
家に戻れっていうのか母さんや兄貴たちみたいに飛び出した俺が悪いってみんなに迷惑かけてるっていうのか
No.
Oh, it's just a lie. He's still a little kid.
Oh, yeah.
But he's been so excited getting to go into this world, and yet nobody's supporting him and his family.
私は何があってもルッツの味方だよ。辛い時は寄りかかって。
マイン悪かった。俺が寄りかかったらマインの方が潰れそうだ。
Physically, but not emotionally.
It's actually a pretty mature line because
養子縁組するにしても親の許可がいるし。
Oh, especially the adoption.
マイン、隠し部屋に来なさい。
yeah.
All right.
新館長、
Let's talk.
お仕事はよろしいのですか？
Yes, but clearly that's not happening right now.
何を考えている？
Yeah. Talk about it.
申し訳ありません。新館長には
But it's become my concern.
もしかして私のこと心配してくれてるんですか？
違うな。
The curtness of it. No.
Yeah.
君の望みはルッツの生活環境を改善すること。家族と和解できれば一番いいが、ベンノと養子縁組するという解決策もあると考え。
Yep, but both carry complications.
もしルッツがベンノの養子になることを望むのであれば、方法はある。
どんな方？
Oh.
ルッツを親から見捨てられ、孤児院に保護された子供という扱いにするのだ。
Oh, shit.
そうすれば、孤児院の院長がルッツの親代わりとなり、養子縁組のサインができる。
Dang. But from the parents' perspective, you stole their kid away.
Uh-huh.
青年だ。上司の私のサインも必要となる。
それでルッ
But
ツが
that
今
is
すぐ
something
助
where
かるならお願いしたいで
if the high priest were to hear about this, that would absolutely be something he would try and interfere with.
君の話だけでは判断できぬ。ルッツの両親の話も聞く必要がある。
Okay.
そんなことどうやって？
相手を召喚すればよいであろう。
Damn.
Wow.
That's the kind of power he has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
私の前で全てを明らかにし、必要と判断すれば、養子縁組に協力しよう。
Okay.
なんだか
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Maybe it wasn't a good idea to bring it up to him.
Well, but that might also impress on the parents that, like, no, the work he's doing is important. It is a big deal, you know, and the fact that you're not listening to him about this stuff is causing, like, serious problems.
Very fun, like courtroom intervention.
Yeah, yeah.
basically.
話し合いの時にこれを握っておくように。
何ですか新
It's a
館
magic
長？
item.
盗聴防止用の魔術具だ。
Cool.
君の声は同じ魔術具を持つ私にしか聞こえなくなる。
That's so
It's
cool.
very helpful.
それってひょっとして黙って見ていろってことですか新館
Well,
長？
kind of.
その通りだ。
でもせっかくの話し合いですから。
And that's how you can help.
君が口を挟むと混乱する。
Okay. I like this.
マイ、落ち着きなさい。
Nice.
それと、魔術具で話すときは口元を隠すように。
That way people don't know you have it.
常識には疎いからな。私に分かるように説明しなさい。
Nice.
認めてほしいってのが甘えてる子。
He can't explain it.
Yeah.
は口が重いから私から言わせてもらいますが、あんた認めてくれって言うけれど、その仕事で本当に一人前になれる？
Do you have any idea how much money I make?
どうして仕事でよその町へ行くのを許してくれねえんだよ。
どうして許さないのか、
Yeah.
理由を述べなさい。
危険すぎる。
そうだよ。
Okay.
街の外なんて獣もいるし、
Okay.
All right.
もう連れて行くようなところじゃないよ。
失礼ながら私たちは馬車で行きますし、それも
Half a day.
Wow.
必要ない。
Okay.
だから仕事だって言ってんだろ。
落ち着きなさい、ルッツ。必要ないとは。
Yeah, yeah.
私たちは新しい工房を作るためにルッツを連れて行きたいのですが、
見習いのルッツがなんでそんなことまでしないといけないの？
A mere apprentice.
今後の店のこととルッツの能力を考えて、ルッツを跡取りとして教育したいと考えています。そのために養子縁組を望んでいるの。
It's not exactly going to make them calm down, but
話にならんな。
リード、なぜ話にならない？
no.
あんた商売人としては確かに立派だろうよ。だが親にはなれん。
Clearly you can't either.
どういう意味か説明しなさい。
親ってのはここだろうが、利益がどうとかじゃない。
Oh, interesting.
Really?
ルッツは商人になることを望んでいます。
そうだ。 せめて証人見習いになることを認めてくれたっていいだろ。
だから勝手にしろと言ったはずだ。
And I want to go on a trip.
あの反対振り切って男が一度選んだ仕事なら住み込み見習いだろうがなんだろうが根性でやりきればいい。泣き言抜かして孤児院に逃げ込むような育児のない真似するな。
But you're denying the...
Right. You,
許すわけないだろう。
そうだよ。お腹を痛めて産んで今日まで育ててきた可愛い息子だよ。誰にもやるわけない。
Right, right. No, I get that, but that's nothing to
But-
do with the actual
Yeah.
trip here.
ルッツ謝れ。
リード、それではわからない。
Ah,
誰
nice.
に何を謝れと
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
のどうする？
私は真剣にルッツを買っています。養子縁組ではなく将来店を担うダプラとしての契約ならば
Wow.
ルッツは努力家ですし忍耐力もある。手元に置いてなるべく早くから教育したいのです。
Sure.
いいだろう。いくら力になってやりたくても俺では商売人の後ろ盾にはなれん。
Wow. All right. There it is.
Okay.
Successor found.
こいつは末の息子で少し甘やかされて育っていますが少年は悪くありません。
Yeah, take care of him. Yeah.
俺絶対にすごい商人になってみせる。
当たり前だ。
All right.
男がメソメソするな。
母さん、俺なんか腹減っちゃった。
なんだい、これから商業ギルドに行くんじゃなかったのかい。
Hey, you got a task to do. Yeah. The idea of parents giving up the son, you know, to then go into
Yeah.
another field.
Right.
He just had a little bit of a deja vu connection there.
Sure.
分かったか。片方の言い分だけでは見方が歪む。あの家族が壊れなくてよかったな。
Not particularly.
Yep. Yep. Scoot, scoot.
やめなさいマイ。これでは私が泣かせたようではないか。
嬉し涙だからいいんです。
まったく。
Mataku.
フェルディナンド。
We know his name.
この時私は
Yeah.
Sweet.
Ferdinand. All right.
God.
It's probably one of my least liked tropes in drama fiction is that you have the characters that were basically saying all along that they were okay with something, but because of miscommunication writing,
Except it got to the point where it's we're okay with you do whatever you do. Okay, I'm going to bring up this trip I need to go on because this is part of it.
no, I know.
I'm
saying
going to
it's-
throw you against the wall because I'm so okay with it. You know, like
No, I know. It's a that's what I'm saying. It's a bad writing trope to basically say that no, they were actually okay with it all along. Yeah.
well, and for this one I'm basically saying that throwing the dad under the bus rather than the writing where it's just his head's so far up his own ass that you know.
No, it's the characters are the writing, you
盗
know.
聴防止用の魔術具ってほん
Very useful.
もちろんだ。貴族の間ではよく
Often,
使
I
う。
believe it. Yes.
神殿長さん。揉め事が起き
Nice.
今のように使うのだ。
内緒話に使うんです今回みたいに人をだ
Oh well.
I'm just being creative. Hey, cool. Hey, we got some Lutz focus.
Yeah, I love that
And-
we got Lutz focus and oh my god, I hate his parents.
I can't stand
like,
I can't
the-
stand his parents.
like-
Like I love his mom in a lot of ways.
Sure.
Because there's some things about her that we've seen throughout the show that shows she's got a pretty good head on her shoulders, all things
Yeah.
considered. Now the part that was the most confusing here was that it felt like they weren't entirely on the same page with Lutz and the parents with regards to communicating what he actually does.
Yeah.
Now, I understand then if Lutz is keeping secrets about like where he works, what
Sure.
he does and all that they're like, an adult man is wanting to take our son outside the city. No, no, no. I
that's
don't
not
care
happening.
what the thing is. That's not
Right, right.
happening.
Yeah.
But then they made it a point, though, that they had told Lutz specifically, you can't do this.
Right.
But then they've also said to him,
do
what
whatever you want. Right. It's
So
oh my
which
God.
is it?
Right. And it's something where I don't have too much of a problem with the writing of this episode because it really just feels like I totally buy that this person exists, right? Like that you have someone who is not educated and there's reasons why there would be things that he wouldn't understand. Okay, sure. And then is very stubborn and is so basically proud and arrogant and basically, I'm clearly not the problem here, that none of the things that are being brought up, he's actually addressing for things that he has done to mess up the situation.
Yeah.
Even to the point where when the other adult basically says, okay.
Explain yourself.
He's like, no. Like,
I don't know how to do that.
I don't know how to do that. And even then when the mom goes and tries to explain things, it's not actually getting the things that they're actually upset with, right?
No.
Because she's trying to basically be the intermediary and smooth things over.
I don't even think she's trying to be that. She's basically just saying, hey, we care about him and we don't think this is safe. But then that means that she's not actually aware of what her husband's talking about.
Well,
because he said, do whatever you want, which she then completely ignored in the face of the thing you're trying to do is dangerous.
Okay.
So what relevance does that have to do with do whatever you want?
Right.
If you actually knew that was what he was talking about all along, then it wouldn't matter what he's doing.
Right.
Because you are cool with him doing whatever you want. So I absolutely will roast the writing on this in that this is not just characters are being dumb here. This is it was never addressed in the episode.
Okay,
they literally contradicted themselves in
that's
the
a good
front
point.
of the priest.
Right, because the things, they could have, the resolution of this episode shows the writing problem because they could have had the actions of the parents stay the same, and afterwards it's like the mind's frustrated and she's like, basically, what the hell to the head priest, and he's like, hey, listen, that's the situation. Right? In a similar way that, like, I can't have you saying that the high priest's plan is a bad idea in front of them. They're still his parents.
They are the parents.
They are still the parents.
They can do whatever they want with Lutz. It's not our place to, step in and do anything.
Right. And so there's not much that we can do. One of the other things that I think goes into the bad writing side of things that you were talking about is that Lutz never just paid for a place to stay.
Well, okay, no.
So hear me out.
No,
he is making more than this family.
Yeah, but he's not making that much money. He's not making that much money. I feel like we're in a society, Jacob, where houses and all that, we have not met the landowners yet.
Sure.
There is probably a singular noble family that owns the entire city. Like
totally. And but basically,
he couldn't just necessarily buy a house or something like that.
I'm not even necessarily talking about that. But like
what? Wait.
Well, let me finish.
Okay.
So while there could totally be a thing where because he's a kid, he is not actually like allowed to do anything like that. The basically like what look like more or less apartments that like the family stay in. He would absolutely have the money to be able to just rent one himself.
I think that's an assumption. So I think one of the things that you're assuming is some aspects of our real world with regards to the way that they do housing in this setup here. That's not usually the way that serfs or people of this low station in medieval times would. They weren't even renting. They weren't even owning. The place was given to them basically to fulfill their station.
Sure, and
they have no ownership of it at all.
And maybe that's the reason of why he doesn't have a place to stay, because it's not actually tied to money.
Exactly.
Yeah. But so there's that. Then there's the whole thing that basically when they get into the conversation, right, the dad's being completely unreasonable and proud and all that stuff. They bring up the whole danger thing. They say, hey, that's not an issue. And they're like, well, we're not going to elaborate. We just don't like it. Then the adoption thing gets brought up, which, quite frankly, Benno, that was dumb.
Yeah.
You would know that they would have a strong response to that, right? They're already responding negatively. That's not going to put them in a better mood. And quite frankly, you had them on the back foot with regards to the negotiation because they literally were just clamming up and saying nothing because they had nothing of value to say. Right? Once you're in that situation, then you can basically make the point to the head priest of like, okay, so clearly they are not actually supporting him because they're interfering with his future. Like they're directly interfering, right?
You know, negotiate with the priest at that point.
Right. Even if they say that, oh, do whatever you want. Well, they're keeping him from doing what he wants. And also they're effectively making it to the point where he does not believe that is a place that he can actually live. And then they have the gall to say, well, if you're going to do this, then be suck it up and live in an apprentice. If you're going to have the gall to do something other than what we say, when we make things actively difficult for you, don't balk at the difficulty that we're directly throwing your way because we're upset.
Your Honor, right there. They just abandoned him.
Exactly.
They just said he can do that. Lutz, do you want to do that? Yes. They said they could do it. Perfect. Cool. Adoption right now.
Right.
Now there might be a religious kind of aspect to the adoption being tied to the baptisms, in that in order to do an actual full adoption, it would actually need to be, something with the parents would actually say, I legally hand over so that his name is functionally changed. Now, I totally get that here, but, and this is the part where I liked that he brought this up, was that at that point, then you go into the, all right, cool, so now you have functionally abandoned your child. You can then, Lutz, they talk to Lutz directly, you would have to join the orphanage now. And then from there, we'll then go through the process of being adopted. Would you like to do that? And that's the point where I feel like Lutz was potentially doing, and this is where I don't completely throw out the writing entirely here, is that Lutz was not wanting to be disconnected from his family here.
Right.
He was trying to basically say, hey, I want you to want what I'm doing here. And what they were saying was, we don't want you to do that, but if you want to do it, go and do it.
Right.
But that's not what Lutz was wanting. Lutz was wanting them to sign off and say, we like that you're going to go travel here. But because he kept moving the bar towards the, you have to want this, then they end up coming in here with the, well, then we're going to stonewall you. Because if you want what we want, then we're going to make it very clear we don't want you to do this.
Right.
Which is cool, but I would have loved if they actually, it felt like some things were just cut here. It felt like there was a conversation that could have gone into that, and they just didn't do it. So it made the parents look dumber by extension.
Well, and I think it's...
And I get that might be even part of the point.
I think that is part of the point, because it's it's both the unwillingness and uneducated aspect, right? The concerns that they have of like, hey, I don't know merchant stuff, and so I don't trust it. Totally makes sense.
Valid, yeah.
Totally makes sense. The unwillingness to have Lutz be like, I would like to explain it to you, that I'm sure he's probably done many times, right? And then has basically...
Even if he's bad at it.
Yeah. And then basically has enough negative responses. Like, we started the episode with a physical altercation between a grown-ass man and a 7 or 8 year old, right? And even if that's something that's more accepted back then, that goes to show that clearly communication was not happening and it was unwelcome, right?
Right.
Attempts at it were not being accepted, right? So that's something where then to have the dad say, all the stuff that he says, it's like, okay, you're really not... Like, it's the... My head's up my own ass and I like it here, right? And so I'm not going to change it, right?
And we are in a very specific medieval world where you're going to have familial, physical abuse going on and stuff like that, and that's just normal.
Right, exactly. It wasn't brought up in the episode
because it's normal.
Because it's normal, right?
Yeah.
It's
the mom was literally physically holding back the dad from beating their son. Because that's probably what he does when the son steps out of line.
Right.
And very normal for this time and era. The part where the dad in some ways kind of steps beyond that to be like, we're going to have our cake and eat it with having him be like, this is cool. I like it in a vacuum, but in context with everything else, it feels really weird.
Yeah.
Is that he's like, okay, cool. So my parents are willing to let this happen. And they've been trying to say this the whole time here, but they're unhappy with your decision. They're going to let you make the decision, but they're absolutely protesting the whole way. Is then that, I damn right you will become the best thing there because you're my son. I like the...
I'm going to take credit for the things that you do.
No, shush. That's not what I'm talking about here. What he's basically saying is that, hey, you are a man. You are my son. That means that in a lot of ways you can take confidence and pride in what you're about to do here. Not because I gave this to you, just because that's who you are. And the idea of an older member of society imparting identity into someone there, not saying you're mine, saying you're you, is a good thing. That's a really good thing here. The complete and total issue I have with this is then that they treat him like a kid the entire bit of the episode. So, which is it? Again, I'm confused as to
and having the characters act that way. I don't have an issue with inherently from that. It's the responses of all the other characters that are like, this is a happy reunion. I'm going to cry because it's so sweet.
What? Well, again, that's the part where I'm talking about I think the writing is more the issue with the inconsistency with the actual request here.
Right.
People reacting in a way that we don't understand to it, as far as like
that's indicative that's the way the world works.
That's the society, yeah.
Right.
But the verbiage, the actual literal words that are being said, being contradictory, and having then the characters
be a man, but then also I'm going to basically intimidate you in this official conversation space to apologize and all that stuff. But then even when I'm asked to say, who it's to and what it's for, he says, wasting everyone's time. By doing what? And to who? Is that to everyone here? Is that to you specifically? Nah. He's just going to be loud with him until he does what he wants, right?
Right.
Getting him to that point where it's all right, accept basically that you're still a kid, accept that we have control over you, right? And then, sure, if there's something where they say that officially you're in charge of this store or whatever, all right, cool, you're giving our son something, but that's not actually, like, the things that he is then asking for, we're still going to basically say no, right? But at the end of the day, this was a lesson that they taught him in their minds.
Right.
And so they're okay with it, right?
Yeah. It's the kind of thing where I get the points that the show is trying to, that the story is trying to bring up with regards to the reminder that this is still a child. They are his parents and stuff. And thus they are, actively concerned and worried about him. And him running away was a form of, I am going to end the, connection here until things change. But we didn't actually get that much of a conversation of what happened before things went into, he's thrown to the ground. He says, the dad says, do whatever you want. And then we go with that. So a lot of this is still there are some details that we have to infer based on the ways in which they showed up at the Gilberta Company, the ways in which they talked at the church or the cathedral or what have you.
Yep.
So again, it feels like one of those things where some stuff was cut. I don't feel like it helped the scene or the episode as a whole to be able to understand exactly what was going on through the parents' heads. But it's also a kind of thing where we want to side with Lutz just because we understand the situation. And there was a fun aspect of the way in which they couldn't really understand the situation because of their world upbringing. And I feel like they could have explored that in a much better way through something like, the dad's not very good at communicating.
Right.
I totally get that. I can see that.
Yep.
But also the ways in which the characters then try to, like Ferdinand, for instance, who we just learned the name of, very cool, tried to basically ask pointed questions to pull out from the parents the exact objections.
Right.
But again, that's where I have most of the issue, was the disconnect between the parents being like, do what you want, but also you can't do the trip. And I think that's the only thing that I would definitively say is like really bad writing here, is that they never explained in the bit here of then teaching him the lesson afterwards of why those two things can coexist at the same time.
Right. And we didn't have a reason for the parents to actually change. So the change in their in the way they're portrayed at the end has no reason to happen.
Or it doesn't appear to, no.
Yeah, it doesn't appear to. And so then it just feels like a contradiction rather than the, hey, something that Lutz says or something that Benno says or the head priest or something makes them actually be like, listen, okay, we hate that you're doing this. We can't tell you how much we hate this, right? But if you're going to do it, then fine. Then at least, XYZ or whatever, right?
Right. And I get the idea that they were at least believing that they were okay with him doing like whatever they wanted.
Sure. Yeah.
And yet the way in which things were communicated led me to feel like that we were kind of spinning our wheels a little bit in the story in order to get to this point, which was kind of a foregone conclusion anyway. So I wasn't as invested in the conflict. Now, again, it's a blip in the story.
Yeah.
Lutz is going to continue doing his thing because of course he was. His parents weren't going to stop him here. This is not that kind of story where progress is ended because of characters that we have no attachment to emotionally coming in and sidestepping things. Now, obviously, with mine, we can absolutely have progress be side-lined or slowed down or what have you, but this is Ascendance of a Bookworm.
Right.
You have to really sell it to make me buy that we're going to stop or slow progress that much.
Right. This isn't something where, like, a foundational part of the story, like, crumbled or something. It's more of just the, this is something I was personally very excited to see. Mm-hmm. And then it ended up just being sort of like a,
yeah.
All right.
Cool. We wasted our time, basically, in about half of this episode. So... Cool. We now know a little bit more about how the church's power can be used to even solve these kinds of disputes. And Ferdinand, who we now know the name of, could summon them and be like, they have to show up. In fact, because of this...
That was cool.
It
is affecting your work, and so, sorry.
Well, right, but this is the power of a noble, mine. You being a blue robe are effectively a noble. Mm-hmm. So you can flex your power in a very terrifying way that you forced this family situation to the front. You forced them to have a conversation because your work was inconvenienced.
Right.
What I find the most fascinating about this episode is that he would, and then asked afterwards to be like, keep this a secret because you know kind of effectively what was going on here. Mm-hmm. And that I don't want the high priest to be able to clue in how important these other people are to her because then they could be used against her.
Yep. Also, the idea of using an anti-eavesdropping
magic item
to get someone to
shut
shut up.
Of shame or
exactly.
The cone of silence.
Right, to make them just not interfere in an important conversation. That was fantastic.
It is something where I would love to see the library now of magic items because this one did feel hyper specific to pull out.
It felt a bit too close to the whole secret room situation.
Exactly. I was going to say, if you have these, why do you need a secret room? My immediate thought is, well, it's a consumable. You can only use it so many times before you need to replenish it with magic. And if magic is in a shortage right now, I totally get that.
And or you don't want people to know that these people are having a secret conversation, right? Like I liked how he was talking about, hey, when you use it, make sure that you're covering your mouth. That
so
way no one
know that you're talking.
Right, exactly. Because if they were to turn around and they see her being like, they might be like, what's going on, But
I actually thought that was going to be part of it as well, was that he's going to reveal at the end that, like, no, it doesn't just, keep you silent. It actually hides you from view.
Oh, sure.
Now,
that'd be a bit nuts.
Then it would be also a thing of why do you then need the hidden room at that point?
Sure.
But it was something where I was almost like startled how little they cared to turn around and notice mine, there.
Right. Although, kid runs away from home and then a noble summons you to the cathedral, to basically go over this whole situation, to arbitrate the situation. Yeah. That I understand that could draw their attention of the oh, this is very unusual and also
very
embarrassing
serious.
and like, exactly.
And
Like,
and thus then the dad kind of clams up a little bit and is like, I need to
he's already proud and now his like pride is
and he's
hurt even
uncomfortable
more.
and he's like, I gotta
Right, because he would never be able to get an audience with these people if he tried. And then because of Lutz basically being frustrated with the situation, like, effectively, Lutz ordered them here without realizing it.
which
right?
has gotta be a bit, emasculating or a bit just
And that was the thing. That was the other thing that I was hoping that they would bring up, right? Is not that it's just the
Well, he did. That was he saying wasting everyone's time.
No. Not that. But that it's the reason that he hates merchants because he doesn't think it's sustainable, all that stuff? Or is it actually just that it's no, we have our life that's good for us and we don't want you to basically
interfere?
Become something more. We don't like it's the crab pulling you back into the bucket because this is what we know. And so the fact that you're going into these circles where you're going to have, all of these other aspects of your life that will be so different.
I think that's part of it, but I don't think that's the main thing. I think the main thing is that merchants don't care about people. They're just about profits.
Right.
And that's the thing that he said, and the parents have said actually before, is that merchants are cold. They do not care about people.
Yeah.
And that's true.
Then he's like, yeah.
You're right.
You're right.
I care more about my profits than I do about this child.
Right. And that's where then suddenly they had a leg to stand on regarding the adoption thing and all that stuff, or not regarding that, but in the conversation as a whole, because adoption was brought up. And so that's why it was a bad idea tactically as far as negotiations go.
Again, it feels like something was cut in order to basically move things along quicker, but it made the context of this feel worse.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've been noticing that a little bit more and more as the show goes on, is that it's this was a light novel style story. There's a lot of thoughts, there's a lot of dialogue, there's a lot of things that slow down the pacing.
The super relaxed pace that we had at the beginning of the show was a lot easier to do when the scope of everything was so much smaller.
Yeah.
Whereas now that the scope is getting bigger, some of those details might be harder to keep in.
Yeah. Or just they need to be in and they're more noticeable that they're gone. But all right, y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel, see if any of that interests you. We'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.